Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flame Entertainment and Sports. It's your boy Rob here. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Make sure to keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at the Flame_ES. It was a very fun weekend on there, specifically on our Instagram. As I said, make sure to check us out there at the Flame_ES. But yeah, it was a fun weekend. Getting to cover all the great Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary celebrations that occurred. Friday night we had that concert. Then Saturday they re-aired their first ever episode, and then Sunday we had that special 3 hour 50th anniversary episode. And prior to the beginning, we had a great red carpet as well. So it's a super fun weekend. Shout out to everyone over there at Saturday Night Live who was part of putting on this amazing weekend. You all did an incredible job. Congratulations, and also shout out to all the people who have been part of SNL through these 50 years as well. And yeah, with all that said, on today's episode, we're solely gonna be covering Saturday Night Live. We're not gonna be covering sports this week because it was just such a special weekend, and I just feel that SNL 50 deserves its own episode. So yeah, we're gonna cover SNL 50. I'm gonna give my thoughts, on that Sunday episode, that 3 hour episode, which was just incredible to watch. So yeah, with all that said, let's get into it. I have a list here, because of course I watched everything, but I don't know all the names by memories of, let's say, of all the sketches and everything like that. So the night started off with Paul Simon, who was a longtime singer. He performed on the first ever SNL 50 years ago with George Harrison, and this time George Harrison passed away many years ago. So this time Paul Simon was joined by Sabrina Carpenter. They sang the song "Homeward Bound," which is a song that Paul and George performed in the first ever SNL episode. So congratulations to Sabrina on getting that big gig, and absolutely hitting it out of the ballpark. I thought she sounded amazing. She looked amazing as always, of course, and it was just so cool to see her on there. And you could tell that in the near future, perhaps before season 50 wraps up, we might be seeing Sabrina Carpenter, possibly hosting her first ever Saturday Night Live. She was on the show recently, but just as a musical guest. But I feel like in the near future, more near than we think, I think she's going to be a host on this show. And the fact that she was part of the opening number of this big, 50th anniversary episode, I think speaks volumes as to, how much they think of Sabrina, and what plans they may have in store for her, with a possible bigger role moving forward within the Saturday Night Live community. So yeah, I thought Sabrina and Paul did a great job opening the show. It was super cool, and I was just like so happy to see Sabrina. It's so cool to, as time goes on, to see her advance right in her career. I remember watching the first ever episode of Girl Meets World, which is where we all saw Sabrina, rise to fame. Now all these years later, I don't even know when was that, like 10 or 11 years ago probably. And all these years later, she literally opened the 50th anniversary episode of Saturday Night Live, one of the most iconic shows in television history. So it's just incredible. So once again, congratulations to Sabrina, and whoever made this decision to have Sabrina, join Paul Simon on that stage. I thought whoever made that decision, or the group that made the decision, did a great job. They picked a great person to have up there. Sabrina did an incredible job. And we'll talk about her later, because she also appeared later on within the episode, and a super cool skit. So after that, we had the opening monologue, which was performed by Steve Martin, who's one of the most iconic people to ever come out of Saturday Night Live. And beyond Saturday Night Live, he's one of the most, like, in general, one of the most successful and beloved comedic actors of all time. Besides Saturday Night Live, at least for me growing up, I know him mostly from Cheaper by the Dozen and the Pink Panther. But I know he's been acting for so many years that, obviously prior to when I was born, he was not only in Saturday Night Live, but in a lot of other big projects as well. But I thought Steve Martin did a great job. I thought that was a great pick by SNL to have him open up the show, to do the opening monologue. A joke that I really enjoyed that he did. He's like, "Hi, my name is Steve Martin, the newest diversity hire of Saturday Night Live." I just thought that was so funny. That was an element within the show that I thought was really cool. That element is that SNL didn't hold back. They stayed true to their comedic roots, and they let these funny people be funny. and they didn't let critics or whatever it may be like hold them back, if that makes sense. Like they displayed full comedy throughout this whole 50th anniversary episode. And then following that monologue, we had I actually, so I have the whole list here, but I feel like if I go um segment by segment, it'll probably be too long of an episode. And I don't know, if just maybe if I had like a panel with me, it'd be easier. So I'm gonna kind of skim through the list. So the fourth segment we had, oh no, the fifth one, fifth, no, the fourth one. So that fourth one we had was Black Jeopardy, and that's a famous sketch on this show that hadn't been done in a lot of years, from my understanding. And in this Black Jeopardy sketch for this big anniversary episode, we had Tracy Morgan, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, Tom Hanks, and Leslie Jones. And this Black Jeopardy sketch was just absolutely hilarious. We had and also, sorry, Kenan Thompson was in it as well, who of course is the guy who's been on the most seasons, or the person who's been on the most SNL seasons ever. He's currently on his 22nd season right now. But yeah, he was the host of Black Jeopardy. He did an amazing job as a host. Then we had Tracy Morgan play a character, and then we had Eddie Murphy as a contestant next to Tracy Morgan. And Eddie Murphy was playing Tracy Morgan, and he absolutely did an incredible job. He showed why he's one of the most beloved comedic performers of all time. Eddie Murphy, I haven't seen any of his SNL, content from the past when he was on it many years ago. But from what I'm hearing, from my understanding, watching different podcasts and hearing different SNL experts, it sounds as if Eddie Murphy went back to his old self within this whole Saturday Night Live episode. He was featured not only in this sketch but in others as well. But yeah, in this Black Jeopardy specifically, I just thought Eddie Murphy was incredible. He did an absolutely amazing job playing Tracy Morgan. He even had that gold chain. He did the Tracy Morgan accent perfectly and everything. He literally sounded exactly like Tracy. And something I really enjoyed within this Black Jeopardy sketch as well is that Kenan Thompson, you could tell, was having the time of his life, getting to perform alongside his, some of the people he looked up to, some of the people that came before him in SNL history, and specifically as well, some of the, great Black, performers or cast members who came on the show who really made a mark and paved the way for the future. And Kenan obviously is taking advantage, and ever since he joined SNL, everyone's loved him. And as I said a couple minutes ago, he's currently on his 22nd season of the show. But yeah, this Black Jeopardy sketch was just absolutely incredible. Another one to talk about, go back to Sabrina Carpenter. So we had the return, right, of Domingo, who's played by Marcello Hernandez. I've talked about him on here. He's currently in his second season on SNL. He's a Miami guy. I believe he's a year older than me. He went to Belen here in Miami, and he's just an absolutely talented guy. He does an amazing job every episode on Saturday Night Live, and I always love seeing him out there. It was so special to see a fellow Miami boy, having his moment on this big SNL 50 anniversary episode. So shout out to Marcello Hernandez. But yeah, so Domingo, I'm sure people who listen to this podcast know about Domingo. So when Sabrina Carpenter made her first appearance on SNL as a musical guest, oh no, not Sabrina Carpenter, I'm sorry. Okay, Sabrina Carpenter. Okay, the first time they used a sketch with Domingo. Why I said Sabrina Carpenter is because they used Espresso, which is her song, but the guest was actually Ariana Grande, and it was basically a sketch of bridesmaids. It was at a wedding. Chloe Fineman, who's one of my favorite SNL cast members of all time, she plays the bride, and then she's marrying Andrew Dismukes, and then basically this how the sketch starts is her bridesmaids planned a song for her, and throughout that song they reveal that while they're on their bachelorette trip to Miami, she had an affair with Domingo, who's played by Marcelo Hernandez, and then Domingo comes out. Then they had Domingo come out another time, and then this was the third time in this SNL 50 episode that Domingo made an appearance. And this time they kind of made a whole family line. We find out that his brothers are played by Pedro Pascal and Bad Bunny, so that was really funny as well. And then we also had a review of who Chloe Fineman's parents were, and they were played by Martin Short and Molly Shannon, who are two of the most beloved cast members in SNL history. So I just felt that it was really cool that they really emphasized that they're gonna keep using this Domingo sketch and character going forward, and the fact that they made a whole, it kind of, in my opinion, now I wouldn't be shocked if they did like some sort of movie, even like on Peacock or something, because now we have a whole backstory, or we have like a whole kind of a backstory, because now we know Domingo's family, we know Chloe Feynman, who's the bride, we know who her parents are, and it's just an amazing sketch. And as I said, my favorite part about it was seeing Marcello Hernandez get his shining moment in this big time episode. But also to go to Sabrina Carpenter, she appeared in the sketch, which was really cool because, like I said, the original sketch they used espresso, and she was in this one, so that was super cool to see her on there with Marcelo, with Pedro Pascal, and the rest of the crew. So I really enjoyed this Domingo sketch. They called it Domingo Vow Renewal. But yeah, don't be shocked. You heard it here first. I have a prediction here on the Flame Entertainment and Sports. I don't know when, but sometime soon there will be a Domingo movie. Because I could totally see it, because people from day one, when they first did the first Domingo sketch with Ariana Grande, people have just gotten crazy about it. I found out the other day it's actually the most viewed TikTok video of all time on SNL's TikTok account. So I think that speaks volumes, especially within the last year or two. You kind of see a resurgence of SNL due to TikTok. They've done a great job, creating a great fan base on there, posting a lot of their sketches now as clips on there. And, I think we're going to see Marcelo playing Domingo for a long time now going into the future. And I'm super excited to see what comes out of it. And now look, to manifest, to speak it into existence, whenever the Domingo movie premiere will be, I will be there. We will be there representing the Flame Entertainment and Sports, and we will get to interview Marcello Hernandez and whoever else, and Chloe Feynman and whoever else is part of this Domingo movie. Gotta manifest it, At the end of the day, it's God's plan, but I wanted to put it out there that whenever that Domingo movie comes, we will be there at that premiere. Now to move on to some other things within this episode, we had a segment where they called the audience Q&A. It was hosted by Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, who are not only each of them in their own right are two of the most beloved figures of this show, but them as a duo, they're arguably the most loved duo throughout this show's history, alongside Martin Short and Steve Martin maybe. But yeah, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, they did a Q&A, and for those of you that don't know, in the audience, it was all filled with different celebrities. Some have hosted past SNL episodes, some haven't. Some are just comedic legends who were invited and in attendance there. But yeah, this Q&A was super cool. They went to a couple different people. They went to the most controversial clip of the night was they went to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. A lot of people were obviously shocked due to the ongoing lawsuit battle they're having with Justin Baldoni. We all know the story. I have a couple episodes on here where I've talked about it, and I'm not going to talk about it now because obviously I just want to talk about SNL here. But yeah, I thought I was super shocked to see Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively there. And, they asked Ryan Reynolds a question. He did a whole little act there. Not really going to get into it, but another person, they asked multiple people questions in the audience. But I want to talk about my favorite, and that was Zach Galifianakis, who plays Alan in the Hangover movies. The first Hangover, for those of you that don't know, that's my favorite movie of all time. Alan's one of my favorite characters of all time, alongside Michael Scott of The Office. I think those are two of the greatest comedic characters ever. I thought Zach Galifianakis and Steve Carell, they literally did an incredible job playing those characters. But yeah, Zach Galifianakis, they had him in the audience. He was never part of SNL as a cast member, but he has hosted twice within the history of SNL. And, it was really cool. He only had 2 lines in it, but one of the lines that really stuck out, I thought it was hilarious. As I said in the beginning, this kind of goes back to my point of they stayed true to their comedic roots here in this SNL 50 anniversary episode. And basically the line I love from Zach Galifianakis, he basically, I don't have it word by word, but he's basically like, shut up. I'm waiting for Kanye to perform. And for those of you that don't know, obviously in general, Kanye is just a controversial figure, but recently he's had a lot of bad comments, a lot of, I don't know what you call them, messed up and distasteful comments supporting Nazis and coming out with Nazi merch and, just hating on Jewish people, which obviously is horrible to see. But I just thought it was really cool that they made comedy out of it. and I thought it was a perfect person to pick. And Zach Galifianakis, it literally felt like I was watching The Hangover again. Like I was watching him play Alan in The Hangover again. So shout out to Zach Galifianakis. He had two lines, but there two, one of them was one of the most memorable of this whole SNL50 episode, in my opinion. I absolutely love Zach Galifianakis, so I had to mention that on here. Some other things to talk about: Miley Cyrus, she performed alongside Brittany Howard and The Roots. They performed the song "Nothing Compares to You." She did a great job as always. Then we had the Weekend Update, which was hosted by Michael Che and Colin Jost, who are the current Weekend Update anchors right now. They're the longest tenured anchors in the history of SNL, which is pretty cool to think about. There's been so many different anchors throughout the time of the show. So congratulations to them. They had Bill Murray join them. He at one point in his career he hosted. He was one of the anchors on Weekend Update. I mean, and he was super funny. Bill Murray basically he did like a ranking of the top 10 most successful hosts or Weekend Update hosts in SNL history. It was really funny, and I really enjoyed that part of the show as well. Um, we had let's see something else to talk about. Oh, I thought this was really cool. So this is one of those pre-taped videos. It was Pete Davidson and Lorraine Newman. So Pete Davidson, I've talked about him on here a lot. He's one of my favorite actors and comedians of all time. I'm just a really big fan of Pete Davidson. So it was super cool to see him get his moment on here. He appeared multiple times throughout this SNL50 anniversary episode. But in this skit particularly, he played his character Chad, which is a character he's most known for throughout his time on SNL as a cast member. And in this skit, he's playing Chad, and he's acting alongside Lorraine Newman, who was one of the people who was part of the original cast of Saturday Night Live. And I just want to say, she's in her 70s. She looked absolutely incredible. She's a beautiful woman. But I really enjoyed this pre-taped skit with Pete and Lorraine. I thought it was super cool to bring back one of the original women and one of the most popular recent cast members that put them together. They had great chemistry. They did a great job together. So shout out to Pete Davidson and Lorraine Newman. For those of you interested, I would recommend going to watch that. So basically, Pete Davidson is playing this character Chad, and he like works right in 30 Rock. He like helps out around set of Saturday Night Live. He's basically like, I think he was like hammering something into a wall, I want to say. And Lorraine was kind of like looking at pictures of the past, seeing her the first ever cast photo, and being like emotional. And then Chad was just like making noise in the background. Then eventually she asked if he wants to join her, touring the set of Saturday Night Live, and he agrees to it. At one point, he takes off all his clothes. So it was like super funny to see her being like all sentimental. And then Pete was bringing that comedic ability as Chad. So I thought that was a really cool. That was one of my favorite things of the whole night. Actually, once again, shout out to Pete Davidson and Lorraine Newman. It was cool as well to see her get her moment as one of the original, cast members of this show. After that, we had one of arguably the people's favorite, arguably the most popular and talked about moment of the night, which was Adam Sandler performed a song called 50 Years. It was dedicated, obviously, to 50 years of SNL, but also to many of the people we've lost throughout the years, cast members, as well as former musical guests who have passed away as well. And Adam Sandler, I've talked about him on here a million times. He's my favorite actor of all time. One of my favorite people to look up to in general. And I think his performance on this episode completely showed obviously his comedic ability. There's a lot of comedy he added into the song, but also his big heart. And particularly he sings about Chris Farley, who was one of his best friends, and Norm Macdonald, who was also a close friend of his. And you heard his voice crack, particularly when he mentioned them in the song. And I think it speaks volumes as to the type of person Adam Sandler is. And you could just feel the genuineness of him every time he talks in an interview, every time he sings, whatever it may be, every time he acts. He just seems like such a good-hearted guy. So shout out to the Sandman as always, the GOAT. Happy for him. He got his moment there, and man, he did an incredible job. Everyone stood up. You could tell everyone in the crowd was just emotional. It was heartfelt. It was warm. It was funny because it was emotional, right? It brings you tears, but he also has a way of bringing you happiness, right? It's like bittersweet type of feeling at the same time, man. But yeah, it's just incredible. The Sandman's the best. Let's see what else. So after that was another great skit. It was a New York 50th musical. And basically, John Mulaney, for those of you that don't know, within the past 10 years, he's hosted SNL 6 times. Prior to that, he was a writer on the show for many years. But yeah, he's hosted it. And from his first time hosting SNL, he started this new sketch called New York Musical, where he's basically honoring New York and in a musical comedic way. And it's usually, a lot of cast members are in it. This one was just incredible. It mainly started him, John Mulaney, and then Pete Davidson and David Spade, who, by the way, shout out to David Spade. He's one of my favorite actors as well of all time. He's obviously in a lot of Adam Sandler movies, and seeing Pete Davidson and David Spade together, one of my favorites from the past and one of my favorites from the present. I couldn't ask for more, and now I need a movie. I just need I already have an idea. Look, let's put it out there. I already manifested the Domingo movie and red carpet premiere and all that. Now let's manifest this. We're going to get a movie where we see David Spade play Pete Davidson's uncle, and they go on a road trip. Let's get it done. Lorne Michaels, let's make it happen. Let's go. But yeah, this New York Musical sketch is just absolutely incredible. John Mulaney did a great job, and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend for people to go back and watch it. A lot of people were part of it as well. Also, Kenan Thompson, Maya Rudolph, they did a great job in it. Some other things to talk about here. Let's see. Oh yeah, Debbie Downer is pretty cool. So basically, Debbie Downer is one of the most beloved characters in SNL history. She's played by Rachel Dratch, who is in a lot of comedy movies and shows. Particularly, there's one movie, she's literally in one scene, and to me it's so iconic, and that's Adam Sandler's movie Just Go With It. Yeah, she plays the lady that goes into the doctor's office, and she has like her eyebrows super high up into her forehead because she got some like bad Botox, and that's Rachel Dratch. But yeah, basically, for those of you that don't know too, Rachel Dratch was a cast member on SNL in the 2000s and stuff with like Will Ferrell, Jimmy Fallon, and all those great people. And yeah, this is their most famous character, Debbie Downer. She's basically that person that just like says negative stuff and brings down the vibe and the mood in the room. And she was joining this sketch alongside Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore, Robert De Niro, Io Adibri from The Bear. And it was a super cool sketch. And then I gotta talk about the final sketch of the night. My favorite sketch of the night is called Scared Straight. It premiered years ago. I found out on SNL. It was written by Kenan Thompson, Colin Jost, and maybe some other people. It was an absolutely amazing sketch. Basically, Kenan Thompson plays a convict, and he's basically giving advice to young people to scare them so they don't like do bad things to go to jail, right? And he's joined in this sketch by Eddie Murphy, who plays a fellow convict. Then we have the guys playing the three young teenagers who are getting that advice are Marcello Hernandez, Mikey Day, and Michael Longfellow. But Marcello is like the standout there. And then Will Ferrell joins in as a convict as well. He comes in with these super like tight and shorts. He looks hilarious. And yeah, that sketch was my favorite of the night. We also had Jason Sudeikis in that sketch. He played an officer. And yeah, that sketch was just incredible. Eddie Murphy was hilarious. Kenan Thompson, Will Ferrell. Marcello Hernandez, like I said, he was the star of the young cast members right there. He was incredible in it. I don't want to spoil that one much specifically because it was my favorite of the night. So I really want people to go check it out for yourselves and enjoy that and really feel how funny and amazing that performance was by those guys in the Scared Straight sketch. So yeah. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this SNL 50th anniversary episode recap. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to everyone once again, and congratulations once again to everyone at SNL. You guys did a great job with this anniversary episode. This episode specifically makes me want to go back and start from all the way season 1, episode 1, and just watch the whole history because it was just incredible to witness this amazing and monumental moment in not only television history, but comedic television history. And as a big comedy guy, it was just amazing to see comedy out there and no one holding back and just seeing comedy for what it is, making people laugh. So yeah, guys, it's gonna wrap it up. Also too, shout out to Chevy Chase. He was part of the original cast. He was in attendance. He wasn't in any skit or anything, but he was there. I want to shout him out because he plays one of my favorite, alongside Alan from The Hangover and Michael Scott from The Office. Clark Griswold, who Chevy plays in all the vacation movies, he's one of my favorite comedic characters of all time too. So shout out to Chevy Chase. But yeah, guys, with all that said, If anyone has any thoughts or opinions on this anniversary episode of SNL, make sure to hit us up on Instagram. I would love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up at the flame_es. It was cool. I was able to connect with some people now on Twitter who are big SNL fans. I want to shout out as well everyone over at the Saturday Night Network. They do an incredible job covering Saturday Night Live. This past week, I watched a lot of their live streams and podcast episodes because I really wanted to do my research. I'm new in terms of like a consistent watcher. I'm super new to SNL, so I wanted to get a background and information leading up to this anniversary episode from experts in it. And they do an incredible job. Make sure to go check them out on social media: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and hear their stuff or watch their stuff on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Once again, that's the Saturday Night Network. A lot of great people on there: John Schneider, Sammy K, Bill Kenny. A lot of great people and SNL experts who have a passion and deep knowledge of this amazing show. But yeah, guys, now with all that said, keep it locked in here on Instagram at the flame_es. Shout out to SNL. For those watching, see I'm wearing that hoodie once again. Until next time, everyone, take care.